All right. So for the second part of the video or unit, I would like you to digitally paint this apple that you see here. So obviously, when you digitally paint, you can create your own illustrations and draw up your own designs. But for this lesson, I would like to see you, as a beginner, just copy something, just to get used to the tools that you're using. So I'm going to show you how you can digitally paint over objects as well. So we're going to start with this apple. This apple can be found on my class website under attached as a document called Apple JPEG. So you're just going to drag it into Photoshop and you're going to use this as your file. One thing I would do and recommend is to just create a second copy of it. So what you're going to do is go up to Image, Duplicate. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Image Duplicate. And you're just going to duplicate the image so that you have two copies of it. And I'll explain why later. Okay. So as you can see, I have my toolbar open. I have my brush presets open, my history open. Always like to keep that open if I need to backtrack. And then my layers. Okay, so you can see that I have one layer called background. I would like you to create a new layer, and this is going to be your layer that you're going to trace over. So I'm just going to call this trace, and this is the layer you want to make sure that you're in when you're doing anything in this image. You're going to almost look at it like it's tracing paper over the background. All right, so under paintbrushes, I'm just going to check to see where I'm at here. So I have, all of my different paintbrushes. I have hard paintbrushes, soft paintbrushes, textured paintbrushes, and so forth. So what I've been saying all year to you also is to take a look closely at the texture of the image that you're painting or drawing with. So the texture of the apple is smooth. And you can see where there's changes in value. There's smooth, gentle changes, soft changes. So you might want to use a soft paintbrush. Along the edges, the line is a bit soft. It's not a hard edge. One thing that can happen though is if I were to use this soft paintbrush and paint on here, hold up, it's not working because it's on. Make sure your passing flow is at a correct percentage that you want. I would start with 100%. I do not actually want my pressure sensitive thing on. I want it off. So I'm going to make sure that it's not on. If I were to paint with it, you can see that it's creating this halo type of an edge to my apple, which can kind of be annoying. I really don't want that along the edge, but I do want that softness within the apple. So one thing you can do is go to your background and go to your wand tool and select the background. And now it's selecting the outside of the apple. So if I were to draw, it's only staying within the outside edge of the apple. But I want it on the inside edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do select inverse, and it's going to change that. So now when I draw, it's only staying within that apple. So here's the thing. People think digital painting is so much easier than regular painting, and what I try to make people aware of is that it's not that it's easier. It takes just as long and it's just as hard and time consuming. It's the only difference is that it's cleaner. There's no cleanup. You have an entire variety of paintbrushes and colors right on your computer screen for you. So what we're going to first do is block off at 100% opacity and flow, no pressure sensitivity. We're going to block off all these different values that you see within the apple. So we've got darker values, middle values, and really light values. Okay, so we're almost going to block it off, maybe keeping the shadow out of it for now, and just really focusing on the apple itself. blocking off all these shapes. So one thing that you can do, which is really great, is if you're digitally painting and you like a color, you can use your eyedropper and you can pick up that color, and it will pick up that color right up off of the image that you're taking it from, right? So I'm going to block off these sections at 100% opacity and flow. I'm going to first maybe pick up this color, use my paintbrush, soft paintbrush, and go in and just color in okay, now it seems like it's getting a little bit lighter here, so I'm going to pick up that color. Don't worry if it looks solid and blocky right now. We're going to fix all of that later. Okay, so I'm kind of, wherever that value is changing, I'm kind of adding that color. Seems like it's getting a little bit darker over here. Okay. And it seems like it's its darkest down here. And I'm going to get up into here, lower my paintbrush by using my brackets. You can also use the space bar to pull up your hand to move the image around a little bit quicker. Okay, so this seems like most of it is the same color, but there's little bits and pieces. I do, you know, I'm righty, so I'm drawing with my right hand. I keep my left hand on the keyboard by the brackets and also by the space bar, so I can kind of move it up and down. So I said we're going to not really pay attention to this at the moment. Whoops. But if I were going to turn my background on and off, you can see that I now have, you know, a quick study. Now, obviously, not all of it's filled in because when I have my background on, I can't see all of it. But what I can do is start going in and picking up some more of this color. And, oops, filling it in a little bit more. Okay, go in with this color, and I can lower my brackets. Okay. I'm just really going in and filling in those spaces that I missed. So this obviously you're looking at it probably right now like, oh my gosh, Miss Dauble, what are you doing? That looks like a disaster. But I'm going to show you how we're going to clean it up a little bit more. But now you have an idea of like where your colors go. I don't have to worry about my background because once I deselect this image, you'll see that it's kind of kept the outside edge of the apple in place, which is great. Okay. And then we'll worry about the shadow later because that's kind of a little bit easier, I feel. But so now you can see that if I were to do Command D or I'm on an apple, so that's what happens. Control D. I have the shape of my apple, an idea of where the values are, and I used the apple picture to help guide me to fill in those shapes and whatnot. So now I'm going to stop the video. I would like you to get to this point where you're blocking in all of these values. Once you do this, you're going to go to the next video and watch.